Hello, Jacksonites, and as promised, today I will be giving you a bit of an unconventional video. 2019 was a gigantic fucking year for film. Honestly, I don't think I have anticipated more movies in 1 year than I have in 5 years of my entire life. 2019 was a gigantic year for film, and 2019 gave me and a lot of other people some of their favorite films, also some of their biggest disappointments. But in general, 2019 was just a very full year for film. There was a lot of movies that came out in 2019, and I can honestly say without a doubt that I saw more movies in 2019 than the past 10 years of my life combined. Hang on one second. So I thought that I would just go through the movies that I saw and give you a couple of lists. Over the course of 2019, I've caught up on some in 2020, but I've caught up on like maybe 4 or 5. But over the course of 2019, I now have officially seen 29 movies from 2019. Yeah, that's a lot. That's easily the most movies I've ever watched in 1 year than in 5 years of my entire life. So I'm going to give you a few lists. I'm not going to go through like every single movie that I saw in a row, but I'm going to give you 3 lists. I'm going to give you my top 6 most disappointing films of 2019. I'm going to give you my top 14 favorite movies of 2019. And then I'm just going to give you another list of either movies I did not like or movies I did like, but they just didn't quite make the cut for either list. I'm going to give you that list first. And if you're thrown off by the title of this video, I didn't really know what else to call it other than top 2019 films. So, and I was originally actually going to cancel this and do a review of the Phantasm franchise, but that'll have to wait until Saturday. You haven't missed anything, Justin. I just started. So, starting off with the movies that I've seen, but they just didn't make any list other than just they're there. Starting off here is Escape Room. Now, also, I did do a top 10 favorite movies of 2019 video, but that video got deleted, partially because it was too short, and also because some movies on that list have been booted out. None of those movies are bad, mind you, but they just got booted out by better films that I've seen since 2019 has ended. But at the top of this list is Escape Room. Now, Escape Room, I did put on my top 10 favorite films of 2019. That's one that's been booted. I still do like the movie. However, I just watched it again, and the movie has lost some of its luster for me. I still do think it's good. Everyone is so afraid to watch movies in January and February because everyone just knows, oh, that's just dump month for Hollywood. But I think in the last couple of years, that's been really rectified. Sure, we have a couple stickers here and there in January and February, but if Escape Room and the film Underwater, which I do want to see, have taught us anything, it's that, well, maybe we're starting to go through a film renaissance with January and February. But Escape Room, it's a good movie. It's tense. It's thrilling. It's entertaining. It does come off as being PG-13 Saw. Yeah, I feel like that's probably the biggest criticism that the film has gotten from a lot of people is that it feels like a Saw movie, but just PG-13. And yeah, they're kind of right. And it's pretty obvious that they're aiming for a PG-13 to stay as safe as possible. And another issue is there's a lot of sequel hooks throughout the film. It's like the filmmakers were begging, please give us a sequel. Well, we are getting a sequel because the movie made $125 million against a $9 million budget. So cool. I'm down. I want to see an Escape Room 2. Next is the live action Aladdin. Now, I saw 2 live action 2019 Disney movies. I'll get to the other one in a little bit. And I was not even remotely interested in the live action Aladdin. Even though that Will Smith was in it and the trailer made it look pretty good, I just wasn't interested. But my wife's a big Disney nut, and we got Disney Plus the day that Disney Plus launched. And when we first moved into my in-laws, she wanted me to watch the live action Aladdin. So I was like, all right, fine. We'll make a movie night out of it. I liked it. Yeah, I liked it. And I have seen the original Aladdin too. In many ways, it is a beat for beat remake, but it's not as beat for beat as another Disney live action film. It is a little bit different. It goes a couple different directions. It is very similar still, but I still feel like it is the superior film. Because honestly, I think I liked Will Smith as the genie more than Robin Williams as the genie. That may be sacrilegious to say. No disrespect to Robin Williams. I love him the best, but I think I like Will Smith more. And it was just funnier. I thought it was the funnier film than the original Aladdin. Honestly, I just watched it because of Will Smith, and he sold the movie for me. The songs were good. The movie had a really, 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 really good budget. It looked great. The characters were decent. The colors were good. The action was entertaining. It was just a good movie. I had a fun time with it. Next is a Netflix movie, The Perfection. I almost put this on my top 6 most disappointing films, but I can't do that because I didn't even know this movie was a thing until the day it came out. And my wife wanted to watch it, and she asked me, "Hey, let's watch The Perfection." And we were just like, Okay, no, hang on. Back to Aladdin. The one thing that I will say about Jafar is that I think he was a little more entertaining in the original because he's so much gayer. He was so much of a freaking fag in the first Aladdin movie. That makes him much more enjoyable to watch. But with the new Aladdin, he's just generic bad guy. He's kind of boring because of that. So I think Jafar is better than in the original because he's clearly supposed to be gay, and I think that makes him more enjoyable and makes him more fun to watch. Whereas the remake, he's just boring, generic, plain bad guy. But anyway, so with The Perfection, I didn't know that it was a thing until the day that it came out. And my wife said, "Hey, let's watch this new movie. It's got the chick from Get Out in it." I was like, "Oh, the robot chick. Oh, okay, sure, why not?" It also has the villain from seasons 1 and 2 of iZombie in it as well. So I was like, "Oh, okay. So maybe this will be interesting." Nah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. It felt like an extended episode of a TV series. None of the characters are very likable. And the chick from Get Out, I just don't think she's a good actress. What she did worked in Get Out, but outside of that, I don't think she's a good actress at all. The villain, he's just kind of eh. And also, the movie just disturbed me. Like, I don't want to see iZombie naked villain guy on screen, butt ass naked with his pee pee all over the place. Hang on a second, my phone's going nuts. Hang on. The Perfection, it just wasn't a good movie. I didn't hate it per se, but I also didn't enjoy it. The story was kind of convoluted and confusing. The acting is just kind of generic. The characters are bland and unlikable. It just wasn't very good. I didn't care for it. Next is the live action Lion King. My wife really wanted to see this in theaters, and there was nothing that interesting out during that time. So I was just like, okay, fuck it. I haven't seen a Disney movie since Pirates of the Caribbean 4 in theaters. Let's go watch the live action Lion King. And I kind of was riding the hype train just a little bit because I was kind of curious like, okay, are they actually going to do a beat for beat remake of the original Lion King just with updated effects? Yeah, they did. I didn't hate this movie. I enjoyed it because the song. Well, oh, hang on. The effects were really good, and The Lion King is one of the most classic Disney movies from my era. So I did enjoy the movie, but I do have some problems. One is, yeah, it's beat for beat. It's completely soulless, and there's nothing new to the story. Oh, Cinematic Trash is here. There was nothing new to the story. There was nothing new for us to see. It was just a beat for beat remake of the original. It just happens to be a little longer because there's more longer, wide establishing shots. Two, there was no facial expressions with the animals. Now it looked really good in terms of if it was like a nature documentary. That looked really good, but my problem is that there was no facial expressions, so you couldn't really see the emotions go through the character's face. Now they kind of tried to compensate with that through the emotion in the voice and also in the character's body language, but they can only get away with so much from that. And there, I don't know if it was like original concept art or if it was just fan made fan art for the realistic Lion King characters, but with the cartoon animated expressions. It looked really good. It looked pretty seamless too, so I didn't know why they didn't go with that. And also, I was kind of disappointed by James Earl Jones's performance. It just sounded very stilted. He sounded very disinterested and very. He just kind of felt like he was phoning it in. He may well just have been doing that, but I was disappointed with James Earl Jones. I was kind of hoping that he would, because it was a much more bigger film, that he would have given much more booming behind his voice with Mufasa, but no, he was just kind of phoning it in. But I did enjoy the movie. There was a couple casting decisions that I liked. Seth Rogen as Pumbaa, I thought was fucking perfect. The only thing that would have been make it more perfect was if they cast Steve Carell as Timon. Of course, they didn't, but the guy they got to voice Timon did a pretty good job too. The songs were, for the most part, okay. The only one I didn't like was "Be Prepared." I thought that one was a little lame. The colors were great. The special effects were phenomenal. And it wasn't a bad movie. Like, I heard people say that it was one of the worst movies of 2019. And to that, I just have to say, God, no. Why? Why? Nah, I've seen way worse. Let's see. Next is Maleficent. Okay, so the third live action Disney movie that I've seen. Maleficent 2. I liked it more than the first one. I have seen the first Maleficent because my wife is a big fan of that movie, and she got me to watch the first Maleficent. I thought it was okay. I wasn't blown away, but I wasn't disappointed either. And when she found out that there was a Maleficent 2 coming out, she begged me to go see it in theaters, and I was like, okay, fine, because we had just seen the live action Lion King, so I guess I was in a little bit of a Disney mood. So we went to go see the new Maleficent. I liked it. I thought it was a good continuation of the first film. The story was a little better. The acting overall was a little better. Like, I don't like Elle Fanning. I don't think she's a good actress at all. But she was a little better in part two. What the hell was that guy's name? Angelina Jolie did a lot better as Maleficent. What the fuck is that character's name? Warwick, the inclusion of Warwick Davis was a good choice. I always like seeing Warwick Davis in movies. The action was better. Maleficent was a lot more of a badass in this movie than she was in the first film, though her British accent still sounds incredibly forced and incredibly terrible. I liked it more than the first one. Not that much to say about Maleficent 2 other than It's unfortunate that it didn't do quite as well, though I know why. It's because of the 5-year gap between the first movie and the second movie. But Maleficent 2 was a good time. Terminator Dark Fate. I didn't hate it nearly as much as everyone else did, though I'm pretty sure that it might have replaced Terminator Salvation as my least favorite of the Terminator films. I was really excited for this movie. I was really very excited for this movie. I wanted to go see it in theaters, but I just never got around to doing it because I was working an incredibly shitty job at the time. I like the action scenes. The special effects are really good. I like the return to R rating. The new Terminator, the Rev 9 was pretty badass. And of course, I was happy to see Arnold Schwarzenegger back. But I did find out that they killed off John Connor in the first 5 minutes, and that kind of did throw me for a loop. I didn't like all the really forced get woke or go broke feminazi bullshit tropes. The massive retcon to the entire series timeline. It just kind of feels like it's a spit in the face to OG Terminator fans. But Terminator Dark Fate, I still think it was a fun time, and I don't think it's nearly as bad as everyone else says it is. Actually, I feel like the biggest disappointment about the film is the female actors, except for Linda Hamilton, and the fact that it didn't do nearly as well as I hoped it would. And yet another Terminator trilogy has been scrapped. This is the third time in a row. And I thought third time was going to be the charm, but nope, unfortunately not. Oh my God, I've seen so many Disney movies this year. Lady and the Tramp. Now, me and my wife did watch this on Disney Plus, as the only reason that it wasn't released in theaters was because Disney wanted to launch this movie on Disney Plus just to promote Disney Plus. I did like it. I'm not sure if I like it more than the original. The effects are really good, and there is one thing this has over the live-action Lion King is that they included more facial expressions with the animals. It was a lot more subtle, but it was still there, and I actually think that's better than live-action Lion King. But once again, it's kind of a beat-for-beat story or remake of the story, though it's a little bit more different than the original movie. Certainly more different than the live-action Lion King. I think in some ways I like the Lady and the Tramp movie more than the live-action Lion King movie, but it wasn't my favorite Disney movie of 2019. Next is Frozen 2. I don't like the first Frozen movie. I don't like it at all. I think its story does not permit an hour and 50-minute long film. I think it could easily go for a TV show. That's it. It's a very simple story. The characters are just kind of okay. The songs are incredibly annoying, especially Let It Go. I fucking hate that song. Yes, I have heard that story about the original Lady and the Tramp. Frozen 2, on the other hand, I actually did like it a lot more than the first film. I thought the story was a lot stronger. The voice acting was a lot stronger. The colors and the visuals were a lot better than the first film. I actually do like Into the Unknown as a song. That one's been overplayed almost equally as much as Let It Go, but at least it's a better song. The only thing that I didn't like, and this is going to sound weird, is that I wish the filmmakers had acknowledged Elsa as being gay. Because it's plain as day that she is gay. But Frozen 2 is a good time. It's not my favorite Disney movie of all time, but it's leaps and bounds better than the first Frozen. And that'll about do it. That'll about do it. So now moving on to my top 6 most disappointing films of 2019. Starting off with... This list isn't going to be in any particular order because I think in many ways all of these movies are equally as disappointing. Starting off with Pet Sematary. What a letdown. I was actually really, really, really excited for the remake of Pet Sematary because the trailer made it look like a really good movie. The music was creepy. It looked thrilling. It looked tense. It actually looked spooky. And the music that they used for the trailer just looked it sounded really, really good. Then I watched the movie. Sucked. It made me appreciate the original Pet Sematary a lot more too, even though it's kind of dated, and it's got Miko Hughes from Full House in it. It's actually a lot more closer to the novel, and also Stephen King was much more involved with the original movie. Whereas with the remake, the only reason that it got made was because the project lavished in development hell for fucking 7 years before Stephen King just sent in a termination document saying either make a movie or I'm taking the rights back. So Paramount just rushed out a remake, made money, $133 million against a $21 million budget. So that's cool and all, but it was disappointing. The characters are all unlikable except for John Lithgow as Judd. The acting is bland. It's not scary, like, at all. It's not even creepy or tense. It's just boring and also extremely different from the book. Not much to say about Pet Sematary other than it was extremely disappointing. And as far as horror movies go for 2019, I think it just might be the worst. Next is Captain Marvel. I was not impressed. I've already talked about this in my ranking the MCU sorta series. But yeah, Captain Marvel did not live up to its hype. Brie Larson is completely miscast as Captain Marvel. The story's bland. It's very much a sucker for the superhero origin formula. It did not deserve to make over $1 billion. It's just, to me, the MCU is very quickly running out of steam. Next is Brightburn. This one I also was kind of excited for because the idea of an evil children Superman going on a rampage, killing people in various ways, was a really cool concept. And the biggest reason why this is so disappointing is because of the biggest criticism that the film gets, is that it doesn't live up to its... Yeah, I know. Nick Fury lost his eye to a cat. I thought that was pretty lame, too. But yeah, Brightburn did not live up to its potential. I was really hoping to see some really creative death scenes for how basically a kid version of Superman could go around killing people. He could punch people clean through the chest with one arm. He could take a finger and jam it into their heads or slit their throat with his fingernail. Or like pick someone up by the foot and slam them to the ground. There is a couple good death scenes, specifically when the kid shoots his heat vision through his dad's face. That's a cool death scene. But other than that, the movie was just really disappointing. It ends on a downer, which I don't like. That's another issue I had with the 2019 Pet Sematary, is that evil triumphs in the end. Everyone dies. So I don't like that. Don't like that about Brightburn either. Also, Elizabeth Banks' character is frustrating as fuck because there's plenty of signs that the kid is going crazy and is going to become a serial killer, but she's just ignorant and in massive denial. And it's a shame because Brightburn, again, it has a really good concept, but I just felt like they were just pulling their punches. Now, the one scene in the movie that did shock me was when the kid's uncle was killed and we see his jaw fall off. That actually almost made me gag. So that was a good scene. But other than that, Brightburn was just, eh. Next is The Dead Don't Die. Oh. The Dead Don't Die might be the most disappointing movie, like the number one most disappointing movie. It's pretty high up there with Pet Sematary, but The Dead Don't Die, my God. It had a really good trailer, and it's got an excellent cast, and they just waste it. I do like zombie comedies. Like a couple of my favorite movies of all time is Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse and Shaun of the Dead. I love zombie comedies, especially if they're done right. Dead Don't Die wasn't done right. Now, I've never seen any other Jim Jarmusch movie out there, so I can't really compare it and say like it's Jim Jarmusch's normal film or this was against his norm. But this is the only Jim Jarmusch movie that I've seen, and it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny in the slightest. It also wasn't all that gory, and the zombies were lame. Oh, I was not happy. Like I had to stop halfway through Dead Don't Die and then pick it up another time. It was also the same day that I watched Plaguers. I watched 3 zombie movies the day I watched Plaguers. Dead Don't Die, Plaguers, and Anna and the Apocalypse. I wish Anna and the Apocalypse came out in 2019 like it was supposed to, because I really liked Anna and the Apocalypse. That was a good movie. But no. Now, it's not as pull my hair out or facepalm inducing bad as Plaguers, but Dead Don't Die, it was not a good movie. Next is Good Boys. Again, what's with these trailers lying to people nowadays? I thought Good Boys was going to be a fucking funny-ass movie. But it doesn't go any further past the fact of if you like watching kids swear, then you'll laugh your ass off, which, no. I like watching kids swear, like with Stranger Things and especially It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, but with Good Boys, nah. No. I didn't hate Good Boys, but I was disappointed. I was like, this could have been so much better. Just goes to show how really picky choosy I am with comedies. Hang on. Okay, hang on. Yeah, Good Boys, it wasn't bad per se, but it wasn't great. And the final film here is 47 Meters Down 2, or 47 Meters Down Uncaged. Now, yeah, the killer shark movies have kind of been done to death, but I still, occasionally there's one that sticks out that looks interesting. I have seen the first 47 Meters Down. It came out around the same time as The Shallows, which that was a really good movie. But 47 Meters Down I thought was kind of disappointing. I didn't like really didn't like the ending because it wasn't exactly it was all a dream ending, but it was all a hallucination ending, and that really did not sit well with me. So I was kind of disappointed by the first 47 Meters Down, but I saw that there was a sequel, even though it has nothing to do with the first film being made, and I thought, oh, people getting trapped in underwater caves with blind sharks. Okay, this sounds kind of cool. No, it wasn't. It was very bland and it was very boring and it wasn't tense enough and it didn't exploit the gimmick of having blind sharks very much. Honestly, aside from the scene where they're introduced, they don't come off as being blind whatsoever. Also, none of the characters are interesting, like, at all. And it's just boring. That's my biggest issue with it. It was boring. So with all that out of the way, let's get into my top 14 favorite movies of 2019. I'm not going to talk about this one quite as much because if you remember my first video, there's a lot from that list that are still on here, but I will still talk about them. Number 14 is Happy Death Day 2. Now, once again, this is not in any particular order, except for the last one, though you can probably guess what that is. Yeah, the 14 is Happy Death Day 2. I'm disappointed this movie didn't make nearly as much, but I am glad to see that apparently Jason Blum is really working his ass off to try to get a third film made, which I would like to see, and I would actually be very happy with just leaving this as a trilogy. Yes, I have seen that commercial. Scared the shit out of me the first time I saw it. Happy Death Day 2, I really liked it. Um, I was aware early on that it was going to be much more sci-fi and it would kind of move away from slasher horror stuff. So I was okay with all the changes, and I kind of felt like that's what the direction they were going to go with, that they were going to make a sequel. So I was okay with all the changes. Um, the cast is still really good. I'm glad that they got every single cast member from the first movie back. That's always really cool. And it's another example where the movie picks up right where the last one left off, and they do it in a cool way. Um, the action's great. The acting overall is really good. The story is really good. It's not scary. Like, there was a couple jump scares in the first movie that kind of got me, but the second one's not scary. But I'm not going to hold that against the film because it's really not trying to be a horror movie. It's just a sci-fi action comedy, which I'm fine with. Um, the alternate dimension twist I actually thought was handled really well. Um, oh, and the comedy. Oh my god, this movie was so fucking funny. Specifically when Tree drinks the like draining fluid to kill herself. Me and my father-in-law were watching this movie together, and we just started busting out laughing. Um, I will admit that I'm pretty sure I like the first Happy Death Day just a little bit more than this one, because there's a couple elements of the first movie that this one renders redundant. Specifically, all of Tree's growth in the first movie. Like she kind of actually says it in the film, saying, I grew to be a better person. I thought it was some kind of divine intervention. Turns out it's just a science experiment gone wrong. Yeah, I feel like that sums it up right there. It's a little not disappointing per se, but it's a little bit of a letdown. But um, other than that, Happy Death Day 2 was a hell of a fun time. Me and my wife saw it in theaters. We had the entire theater all to ourselves so that we could laugh our asses off as much as we wanted. And number 13 was Alita Battle Angel. God damn it. Give us a sequel. Please, at least one. Didn't really know much about it going in. I saw the trailer and I thought it looked really good. So I was pretty excited to see this movie. Me and my wife went to see it in its opening week, and we were not disappointed. The acting was really good. The special effects are phenomenal. The music is great. The action scenes are great. And my God, is Alita one badass motherfucker. There's plenty of room for sequels or even like a prequel or sequel TV show taking place in the Alita Battle Angel universe. There's plenty of material to work with, but I just think if Disney decides to really not give us a sequel, they would just be shooting themselves in the foot, and disappointing all their fans even further, and making the decision to buy 20th Century Fox that much more bad. But overall, Alita Battle Angel was one hell of a good time. At number 12 is Us. I have seen Get Out. I liked it. Thought it was a good movie. It was very tense. It was very gritting. It was creepy. And the chick from The Perfection does a decent job with what she's given. Outside of that, though, she's not a good actress. But in the movie, what she does, it works. But Us, on the other hand, I think Us is a far superior film. It's more tense. It's more gritting, or it's more gripping. It's more gritty. It's more violent, but it's also more fun. Like, it's got a good sense of humor, but it's got good kills. It's got great gore. It's scarier. It's got a better story. Overall, Us is a really solid movie. And I definitely I'm a little disappointed that Jordan Peele is not directing the new Candyman film because I think that would just be right up his alley. But if Jordan Peele is going to stay in horror movies, I think we got the next great horror movie director on our way. At number 11 is Hellboy. I am so fucking pissed that this movie was a box office flop. I actually think, aside from Cats, this might have been the biggest box office flop of 2019. Also, for the record, no, I have not seen Cats, nor do I intend to see Cats. Fuck you. Excuse me, I have to go grab something. Oh, shit. Ugh. No, I am not. Can't be a video without one of these. And yes, Ryan, it is Diet Cola. Suck it. So yeah, Hellboy. Is it better than the Ron Perlman Hellboy movies? In many ways, no. The special effects in the two Guillermo del Toro Hellboy movies are far better. But that's compensated by the fact that Hellboy 2019 is R-rated. Now, I will admit that when I first heard about Hellboy 2019, I wasn't interested at all. I was not interested at all. I just wanted to see a Hellboy 3. Sadly, that's not going to happen because Ron Perlman has explicitly stated, not that I blame him, don't get me wrong, but Ron Perlman has explicitly stated that unless Guillermo del Toro is directing the film, he's not going to reprise his role as Hellboy. Again, not that I blame him, but that is pretty disappointing. But when I heard that David Harbour was being cast, because I had just watched Stranger Things at the time, I was a little interested. But then when I heard that the movie was going to be R-rated, I was like, okay, now I'm hooked. You had my curiosity. Now you have my full attention. So my friend Nate actually took me to go see it for my birthday in theaters. I had a blast. Is the movie flawed? Yes, it does feel like a mess at times. Some of the CG effects look pretty bad, even though this movie had a pretty decent budget. The story is just a little bit all over the place, and the ending definitely does leave you feeling like there should be a sequel to this. But overall, other than that, I think Hellboy 2019 is a damn fun time. It's gory as fuck. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it has the right it has the right balance of being serious but also being campy. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I think the movie's tone is perfect. The gore is great. The effects, they're not great. At least the CG effects, they're not great. Specifically, all of the green screen and CG effects when Hellboy's fighting the three giants. It's pretty obvious that there's a lot of green screen and CG work done in those scenes, but the giants themselves look pretty good. And also the gore effects when the lighting is a lot darker, or like at the very end when the apocalypse is running amok in London. the gore effects in CG look really good. And Hellboy's fight with the giant pig and the were jaguar at the very end was pretty entertaining too. Milla Jovovich does a fairly decent job as the Blood Queen. I can't pronounce her actual name, but the Blood Queen as a villain is a little weak. She's just generic, stereotypical evil sorceress bitch. Not necessarily anything wrong with that, but she doesn't do anything all that special. There was a couple scenes in the trailer that were never shown in the film, so I kind of suspect, and I do know that the movie did have a troubled production, so that's probably why there wasn't those scenes in the movie. But overall, I had a blast with Hellboy 2019. It'll be a fucking miracle if there was ever a sequel to be made. Hell, if I had the money, I would commission a sequel myself. But probably never going to see a sequel to this movie, and I think it's a shame because I think this movie could have led to something really good. At number 10 is Detective Pikachu. I don't like Pokemon. I really don't like Pokemon. Not really a fan of Digimon, though growing up I was much more of a Digimon fan. But yeah, I don't like Pokemon. And I wasn't interested in this movie when it came out. My wife wanted to see it because she does like Pokemon. Even my father-in-law wanted to see it. He rented it from Redbox. He rented it from Redbox, and he wanted us all to watch it. I liked it. I thought it was really, really fun. The biggest thing that really turned me off about the movie was Ryan Reynolds. I don't like Ryan Reynolds. I don't think he's a good actor. He is good as Deadpool, only in the first film. But I feel like half the reason that Ryan Reynolds is famous, two reasons why he's as famous as he is because A, at one point he was married to Scarlett Johansson, and also two, he did the Green Lantern movie, which was a gigantic fucking flop. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of Detective Pikachu, and I do think that he's still miscast as the main human character's father, but he didn't do a bad job as Pikachu, I will admit. The action was good. The effects are fucking phenomenal. Like all the Pokemon, I'm so glad this wasn't directed by Uwe Boll, because you would admit that Pokemon look very vaguely reminiscent of their original designs. In the movie, they literally look like they stepped out of the show and into the real world. They look so good. The action scenes are pretty entertaining. The characters are kind of fun. The story's a little kind of all over the place. It starts out as a murder mystery, or not really murder mystery, but like a mystery. But then it just kind of becomes generic. Evil head of a corporation just wants to transfer his consciousness into a powerful being to take over the world. The story in the third act is a little underdeveloped, but overall, aside from that, Detective Pikachu is a damn fun time. It was really funny. It was pretty action-packed. Definitely works as a live-action Pokemon movie. And if they want to use this as a jumping point to start a Nintendo Cinematic Universe, I'm game. At number 9, Child's Play 2019. I've already talked about this one quite a bit. It's my favorite of the Child's Play series. I had no interest when I first heard about it, but then I heard Mark Hamill was going to voice Chucky. I knew right off the bat that Brad Dourif was not going to come to voice Chucky. But when I heard Mark Hamill was going to voice Chucky, I was like, okay, that sounds kind of cool. Because he could take his performance as Joker and add it to Chucky. He doesn't quite do that, but he still does a really solid job. I don't like the design for Chucky. That's probably the biggest criticism that a lot of people have for the film, is that he looks too much like Donald Trump. But the kills are good. The humor is great. All the nods and references to previous movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and especially RoboCop because of Ryan. Just warms my heart. Child's Play 2019 was a fun time, and I really hope to see at least one sequel. I want to see at least one sequel to this movie. There's plenty of ground to work off of. So if we can get at least one sequel, I think that would be just fine. But yeah, Child's Play 2019, it's a great time. Number 8, Hobbs and Shaw. Oh my God. Hobbs and Shaw was fucking awesome. I'm not a huge fan of the Fast and Furious franchise. I've seen only the first film, not counting Hobbs and Shaw because that's a spinoff, but of the main series, I've only seen the first movie. Now, I have heard that the series became the action franchise once The Rock got involved, and I probably would like all the ones with The Rock in it, but I watched the first movie, and when it was over, I said, how did this become a franchise? And with Hobbs and Shaw, I was aware that they were going to be making a spinoff around Hobbs and Shaw. And I love The Rock and I love Jason Statham. So you'd think I'd go out and see this movie. No, I didn't. I didn't care because, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the Fast and Furious series. But I did see some of the trailers and it did look kind of interesting. But I just still didn't have the drive to see it. And it wasn't until me and my wife had a date where we went out and she spent $50 on stuff that she wanted from me, and I spent $50 on stuff that she wanted. And one of the things that she got me was Hobbs and Shaw on Blu-ray for $15. So I sat down and I watched it. And damn, have I been kicking myself in the ass ever since for not seeing it in theaters. Oh my God, was Hobbs and Shaw such a fucking good time. The action is phenomenal. Like, this really feels like a fucking huge, big budget 80s action movie. If anybody has a problem with that, there's got to be something wrong with you. I also like the movie's length. It's a big espionage / action / borderline superhero movie, with The Rock pretty much being as Black Adam as he can be without actually being Black Adam, and also shooting lightning out his hands. God, was this movie a good time. I like the length. I like the movie's tone, the humor. The Rock and Jason Statham's chemistry is funny as fuck. The action is phenomenal. The effects are amazing. The stunts are great. Idris Elba doesn't do a bad job as the movie's villain. He's nothing uber special, but for what he is, he's great. Hobbs and Shaw is just a fucking great time. I really do kick myself in the ass every single day for not seeing that movie in theaters, and I am very excited for Hobbs and Shaw Part 2. Next is It Chapter 2. I'm also disappointed this movie didn't do nearly as well. This was definitely one of those movies that I knew me and my wife were going to go see together. And we actually went to go see it the day that it came out. And we were lucky because the theater that we saw it in wasn't very busy at the time. It Chapter 2, loved it. Excellent adaptation of the book. This is how I feel like a lot of really big books should be done. Maybe not quite so much like this because it has a unique premise, whereas a good chunk of the book takes place in a certain timeline and a big chunk of the book takes place in a different timeline. And here they do it perfectly, but I feel like this is how a lot of big books should be adapted to film in parts. And with It Chapter 2, they do it perfectly. The cast is 99% perfect. The only cast member that I didn't like was the actress that they had playing Bethany, or whatever her name is. Beverly. I did not care for her. She just seemed disinterested the whole time. But other than that, the cast is phenomenal. James McAvoy was a really good Bill. I think his name is Bill. And David Hayter, oh my God, he was perfect as Richie. God, he was funny. And also the skinny, shrimpy ass dude from Sinister and Sinister 2 as Eddie, perfect. The humor's great. The effects are amazing. The fight against Pennywise at the very end is entertaining as fuck. Pennywise himself is a lot more of a badass. A lot of people were complaining about the movie's runtime. Who the fuck cares? I really feel like you couldn't have done it any other way. So what if the movie's 2 hours and 45 minutes long? It's a Stephen King book. Not only that, it's Stephen King's second longest book at nearly 1,200 pages long. You got to make a long movie, otherwise you're going to end up like the shitty-ass Matthew McConaughey Dark Towers movie. It Chapter 2 is a great time, and I really would like to see Andy Muschietti combine parts 1 and 2 and add the deleted scenes as a Netflix miniseries. I think that would be a great binge watch. Next, damn it, another movie I wish I saw in theaters. Rambo: Last Blood. I was actually really, really concerned about there being a fifth Rambo movie. I thought it was going to be utter crap. I saw the trailer, and I saw that it was rated R, so I was like, okay, at least it's that. But I still didn't see it in theaters. I actually bought the movie on... No. I saw that it was on Vudu because one of my father-in-law's friends, he buys a lot of movies on Vudu. So I saw it on there, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a chance. I wasn't really excited for the movie because I had done some I was excited, but I was a little concerned because I'd done some research on the film, and I discovered that the current movie on the disc that I own is the 89-minute theatrical cut. So I was like, and I know that there is a director's cut out there that's about 10 minutes longer. So I was like, oh man, I'm seeing a Justice League. But I still watched the movie anyway, and damn, did I have a good time. I feel like this might be better than Rambo 4 because it continues the type of tone that we have from Rambo 4 of being uber violent and uber angry. That's how I like Rambo to be. I still say that Rambo 4 is my favorite only because there's no deleted scenes. Now, apparently, you can see the extended cut of the movie only on Amazon Prime, which I think is really disappointing. So maybe I'll get around to seeing that. And I do want to do a Rambo series review sometime pretty soon because I'm actually a really big Rambo fan. But I really liked Rambo 5. The gore is fantastic. The action scenes are really good. The continuity for the Rambo series is pretty good. The characters are interesting. The gore is fantastic, and the action scenes are great. Rambo 5, it's a fun time. The one problem, aside from the deleted 10 minutes, which I do want to see more of, the one problem that I have with this movie, I wish that Rambo's niece didn't die. If she wanted to be captured, strung out, and beaten up and fucked up, and then Rambo saves her, and then like she spends the rest of the movie recovering in a hospital, that would have been fine. But I really feel like his niece dying was a little too mean-spirited for my tastes. Now, maybe they did it that way so that the movie wouldn't feel so much like Taken, which that may very well have been the case because the premise is very similar to Taken. But that being said, I still wish that his niece could have survived because, I feel like her death was just a little too mean-spirited. Other than that, Rambo Last Blood was a fun time. I'm glad that it was a success and we're getting a 6th movie. If that could be the final Rambo movie, I'm perfectly fine with that. Just don't end it with Rambo dying. So I feel like that's what they're going to do. Next, I've already talked about this, Joker. This is technically my second favorite movie of 2019. So I'm not going to say that much about it, and a lot has already been said about it. Joker, I didn't care. When it was first announced, I did not care at all. I've already established I'm one of the biggest anti-Batman people on the planet. I don't like Batman, and I really don't like the Joker. But when I heard the film was going to be R-rated, I was like, okay, so maybe it might not be so bad. So I'll just check it out, maybe just because it's going to be an R-rated comic book movie. This is not a superhero movie. Anybody who calls it a superhero movie is an idiot. Yes, it takes place in a comic book universe, but it is not a superhero movie. Hang on. Come on in, honey. I can't see you, honey. The light is in my face. It's not locked.
What are you doing?
Streaming still.
Okay.
I'm almost done. Then I just decided, you know what? What the fuck? I may as well go see Joker in theaters. Boy, am I glad that I did. Great performances. Excellent soundtrack. I'm so glad that I kind of figured Joaquin Phoenix would get an Oscar for his performance, but the only other Oscar I wanted this movie to win was an Oscar for Best Original Soundtrack. It did, and I'm very happy for that. And I remember after watching the movie, I was keeping track of its box office score, and I kept rooting for it. Break a billion, break a billion, break a billion. And sure enough, it did. And I was very happy that this movie broke a billion. For once, Warner Brothers was able to say fuck you to Disney. Yeah, Joker is a great movie. Fucking fantastic movie. Whenever I watch a Warner Brothers movie coming out around 2019 and there's an ad for Joker, it just makes me want to watch Joker again. And excuse my wife as she makes sounds in the background. She's making dinner.
Sorry.
Next, Dr. Sleep. God, I wish I saw this in theaters. Why couldn't this be the successful Stephen King movie other than fucking It Chapter 2 and not fucking Pet Sematary? Because that's the biggest reason why Dr. Sleep didn't do well. It's because It Chapter 2 stole the spotlight and Pet Sematary, for some reason, did worse. Or did better than this. Mike Flanagan may just be my new favorite horror movie director of the past couple of years. Yeah, you blow the bread. Is it still fresh?
Mm-hmm. That smells really good.
I've established before, I don't like Stanley Kubrick. I cannot stand the man. I think he is an extremely pretentious and extremely asshole-ish director. And I can't believe my freaking wife liked The Shining. Now, after I watched Dr. Sleep, I did get around to rewatching The Shining because my wife wanted to see it because she knew that Doctor Sleep was a sequel. She liked it. And I do appreciate the movie a little bit more only because now whenever I'm going to go on a Stephen King binge, when I watch The Shining, I know it's going to lead into Doctor Sleep. My God, is Doctor Sleep a phenomenal movie. The one thing I will say about it, it's not scary, but that's not a flaw. Other than that, Doctor Sleep is a fucking phenomenal movie. And I will say this, if you watch Doctor Sleep, you have to watch the director's cut. Who cares if it's literally 3 hours long? You get a big bang for your buck, and it's one of the greatest Stephen King movies ever made. The acting is phenomenal. The story is a lot better. It's a bit more engaging, or it's a lot more engaging. It's a lot more believable. It goes a lot more into the metaphysical and supernatural elements. It's not bullshit, intentionally fuck with your mind, ambiguous like The Shining is. It's a straightforward supernatural ghost / vampire story. Ewan McGregor is phenomenal as an adult Danny Torrance. The sense of continuity with the Kubrick film is great. Yeah, the CGI'd half-face Jack Nicholson, not really Jack Nicholson, job is a little distracting, and it's a little... How would you describe it, honey? Jack Nicholson and Dr. Sleep, how would you describe it as?
Dr. Sleep?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the way how he doesn't look anything like him?
Yeah. It's not bad per se.
From the side, he really looks like him. But then, like...
The full-on face.
It
looks nothing like him. It's not bad per se, but it does take you a little bit out of the movie because you can clearly tell that it's not Jack Nicholson. Like, not at all, no. Dr. Sleep was a fun time. And the music is really good, too. Again, it's a shame that it underperformed. That's because Pet Sematary stole its spotlight, the fucker. It wasn't even a good movie at all. Next, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Star Wars broke the internet. I talked about that before in my plans for the channel video, but yeah, Star Wars Episode 9 broke the internet, despite it being a good movie. I liked Rise of Skywalker. It's leaps and bounds better than The Last Jedi. It's a very fitting end to the franchise. It's got great action scenes. It's of a decent length. I wish it was a little bit longer, and that's maybe my only problem with Rise of Skywalker is that it does feel a little rushed. But that being said, I still really liked it. I think it's a damn fine movie. It's a great end to a great franchise despite some really bad installments. Star Wars Episode 9, I liked it. Sue me. And it's now my second favorite Star Wars movie. Again, sue me. And number 2, Crawl. I was not expecting to like this movie. The trailer made it look kind of intriguing, but I thought it just looked a little too simple for my taste. But I was out and about, and I was going to shitty-ass Target, which is also where I bought Dr. Sleep. And Target just sells nothing but shit movies. It's either stuff I've never heard of, stuff I'm not interested in, or stuff that's overpriced, or stuff that I already have. But I saw Crawl there for $10, and I was like, okay, screw it. I'll check it out. So I bought it. I watched it one rainy day. I was pleasantly surprised. It was very tense. It was very believable, very realistic, at least in my opinion. The special effects were really solid. The scares were there. Like, there was a couple moments where, like, there's a couple jump scares that got me, but there was also, like, a couple moments where I literally could feel my skin crawl. No pun intended. The only issue with the movie is that I wish the main character's her dad, I wish his arm didn't get bitten off. I feel like that was really unnecessary. But short of that, Crawl was a fun time. And it was a perfect open shut case. If they make a sequel to this and do a fucking Deep Blue Sea 2 bullshit, nah. And yes, I am aware they're making a Deep Blue Sea 3. I just hope it's better than 2. Woof. And number 1, I've said it before, what the hell else do you think it is? Godzilla King of the Monsters was my number 1 favorite movie of 2019. I've already ranted about how much I love this movie, so let's just move on. One of the greatest Godzilla movies of all time. It's fuck you, Avengers Endgame, for stealing this movie's spotlight, because I think this movie should have made $2 billion. So that'll about do it. 2019 was a big year for movies. It had really, really good ones. It had some pretty big flops, and it also had some pretty big disappointments. And thus far, 2020 has been, like, if 2019 was a 10, 2020 has been like a 0.5 in comparison. Though, thankfully, I have managed to see one movie in theaters in 2020, and I just bought it. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. GMK bullshit rolls right off your tongue title. So at least we got one good movie before everything shut down. Oh, and yeah, Godzilla vs. Kong has been delayed to next year. Fuck! But overall, post your comments down below and let me know what you think. Hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends. Look forward to my next video as I review the entire Phantasm franchise. And as always, I will see... Fuck off, Justin. Kong does not win. Don't fucking jinx it. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video.